Hello, everyone, and welcome to Episode 4 of the Star Wars Connection podcast. I'm your host, Isa, and as all Star Wars fans know, it's at Episode 4 where things start to get really interesting. In our first podcast, we discussed how Kylo is coming to Ahch-To. In our third podcast, we talked about possible secret filming locations for Ahch-To. But today, we are going to talk about how Kylo is stranded on Ahch-To. So how is he stranded? Why would we even think that? And what is going to happen when Mr. Conflicted Darksider gets stuck on a little island with Luke and Rey? We will be exploring these and many more questions today. Okay, let's get started. Today I am with two Connection members. First, I'd like to introduce the audience to Connection member and first-time podcaster, Michelle.
Hi, thanks. Glad to be here.
Welcome. Now I'd like to introduce another first-time podcaster and the Star Wars Connection resident experts of new canon and the expanded universe, Reya.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
Yes, we're a very happy group. All right, so it looks like our favorite fallen Jedi is stranded. So why do we think that, ladies?
So if you look at the ship crash pictures,
the ones that were posted on Making Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So it looks like there's some indecipherable objects and a lot of smoke around. And it's been speculated that those are chunks of the ship and possible burning chunks of the ship and debris that are resulting from the crash.
Yes.
Yeah, I think some eyewitnesses mentioned that it might be the size of a cockpit. Somebody actually described it as a Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. That is probably the closest thing it resembles, this object. And either it's going to be a piece of wreckage or they're going to CGI the rest of the ship.
Yes.
We don't know.
Yes, because they did CGI. If you look at the behind-the-scenes documentary, they CGI'd a lot of Kylo's, I always want to call it the Batmobile.
The limo. As we were told, it was codenamed.
Yes. The limo, yes. And,
the limo.
And so, but it's funny, though. So why would Kylo's ship actually be crashing? I mean, he's Han's kid. He's Vader's grandkid. He should have good flying genes encoded inside of him. I mean, even Pablo Hidalgo, the lore master extraordinaire, says the guy has skills.
He says he has skills, but there is the caveat that we will see just how good those skills are in an upcoming movie. So that tells me that I believe he described him as a capable pilot, and we will see how much so in a upcoming movie. So that tells me he can fly, but maybe isn't that great, or he's a really awesome pilot. Although, given his parentage, you would think he's probably a really awesome pilot.
But even if his piloting skills are exemplary, that Ahch-To being a force-strong, could be a force-strong planet, and force-strong planets have weird force stuff happening. So this could be something out of his control. I mean, he may have absolutely no control over the crazy things that happen over there, and maybe the controls of the ship started acting up.
Like on Dagobah, when Luke lost control of his ship and he kind of crash landed in the swamp. So that's a possibility.
Right.
Especially since Ahch-To is supposed to be so ancient and perhaps the original site of the Jedi. There's also another possibility that either Luke and or Rey bring it down, because you would think they might be able to sense him coming.
That's true. I mean, with the Force, he would definitely, at least Luke should be able to sense him. I mean, he's the last Jedi. I mean, he would know if someone is arriving, and if I'm sure Kylo himself would realize that somebody is playing around with the ship, and he's not going to be very happy about it. I don't think so.
No, it's an attempt on his life for starters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And And he's coming with some people. He's not coming alone, or is he? I don't know.
He's coming with his Knights of Ren, supposedly, as it appears to be. If we look at those leaked photos, there's approximately 6 to 7 people all dressed in black.
Yeah.
So it's been an easy assumption that those are probably his Knights of Ren.
Though, what's funny is that a lot of, I guess the assumed kind of thing is that the Knights of Ren number about 6 or 7. And when you look at those pictures, there are a lot of guys dressed in black. So you wonder, are they all Knights of Ren? Are they bounty hunters? Are they locals? Are they, I don't know, hostile and aggressive residents that might be known as flesh raiders that we might get into in a minute? But let's deal with one thing first. It's been reported that those guys in black, or at least some of them, are seen kneeling around the crash site. So why would they be kneeling?
Well, they could be, we know that, if you look at the extended universe, there are stories of Dark Jedi who are relic hunters. So maybe these Knights of Ren are relic hunters, and they've got the greatest relic of all, Vader's grandson. So maybe they're bowing to him, here is our greatest find. Or maybe they are, when the ship crashed, one of them died, so they are paying their respects. I don't know. Maybe these are the locals, having seen the wreck, have come to check for any survivors. There are a lot of possibilities.
There are a lot of possibilities. There's also the possibility that Kylo went to Ahch-To on his own. And I don't know. Maybe he crashed on his own. What do you think, Michelle? Do you think maybe some of his guys followed him?
I think it's certainly possible. My gut feeling is it's not super likely, because then it just convolutes the plot to have Kylo go rogue and then the Knights follow him. But that is a possibility. I know that when back with the Star Wars connection, back before we had known that the Knights were showing up, but there had been some leaks of their being seen shot with Kylo, Luke, and Rey, we had thought that maybe Kylo had gone rogue and gone there on his own. So I don't think it would necessarily be super out of character for him. He's already been shown to have his own agenda a little bit. It just makes the plot more complicated if Kylo went and then the Knights chase after him.
Yeah, it would. And also, though, there's a possibility that he could just have his own ship and they have their own, and they could be kneeling because maybe they think he's dead.
Right.
But we don't think he's dead, do we?
We do not think Kylo Ren is dead, no.
Where will that story be if Kylo Ren is...
So we know that he's not dead because there was also a shot that was seen, this is also from the leaked photos, where he's walking up a hill in County Kerry. He's walking by himself in this shot, and he's wearing, apparently, it looks like he's wearing his full costume, his robes, and his helmet and everything.
It survived. It survived Star Killer Base somehow. It made it.
Yes.
Or maybe he has a hidden closet full of helmets.
Yes. Yeah, I think he could be obsessive, you know what I mean? So I could see that,
Ren.
But he definitely seems to be in his full gear. He seems to, as opposed to how he was at the end of The Force Awakens. There's another picture in there, too, that the Making Star Wars guys said it was an affectionate pose between Kylo and Rey. What do you guys think about that?
I'd love it to be an affectionate pose, but what would it... But I don't think that someone who looks like Kylo walking up the hill, so he can't be in two places at once. That would be strange.
No, he's magical, but he's not that magical, right? Okay, so we're looking at Kylo walking up the hill, totally, Kylo Renning it up in his full, military getup. Now he's masked here, but a couple weeks ago, there was the MSW spoiler of Kylo and the supposed Knights of Ren, or some black-clothed posse, engaging Luke and Rey shortly after their arrival. Now, isn't Kylo supposed to be unmasked in that fight?
Yes, that's what we've heard from the spoilers. So there's a couple of possibilities that would explain him being in his full getup while he's shot walking up the hill. The first one would simply be that the Kylo on a hill shot takes place before he runs into Luke and Rey. It could be that he's scouting ahead of the Knights of Ren, or that in theory, in the story, the Knights of Ren are right behind him, but they just weren't included in that particular shot, especially if it's just a really brief shot of a half a second. Secondly, there could be a scenario where the ship that Kylo and the Knights of Ren were on flew in and it broke apart and crashed in separate pieces. So in this case, we'd be looking at a lost scenario where you've got the main fuselage and the tail enders. So this could explain the kneeling. Maybe the Knights of Ren think that Kylo was killed in the crash because he was in a separate part of the ship. In this case, Kylo and the Knights of Ren, there would be something where they would end up meeting up later on. They'd find each other. Finally, on a completely separate line of thinking, the shot could be from the end of the Ahch-To segment. So maybe Kylo is preparing to return to the First Order for whatever reason, and so he's putting his mask back on to do that.
Okay, so all we know now is he's by himself on that hill, but that could be like a 30-second shot, like you said. And we got to assume that some guys are still around because of all those guys dressed in black. And let's say the crash ship, they were all in the same ship, and it broke apart in a million pieces. And so, they are in need of transportation. So we don't know what they're coming to Ahch-To for, but let's say they came to do what they had to do on Ahch-To, and then they wanted to get out. You'd think they could hotwire the Millennium Falcon if you need a ship to get out. I mean, I know that Han and Kylo, they had their bad blood, obviously, but nobody's going to tell me that kid didn't pick up something from the old man. And then take a look at that bad parking jobs of the Millennium Falcon. It's all half crooked. And, I don't know, maybe they gave it a try and then they're stopped.
And it's not only that it's all crooked, it's at the edge of a cliff.
Oh. See? The dad parked like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they got very far, and I kind of think that Kylo's posse may be dead. I think they all died somehow. Whoa. I don't think they survived.
Well, the Irish papers were reporting that a lot of fighting scenes were filmed along cliffsides in both County Donegal and Kerry. And also the force back indicate that Kylo and whatever posse he's got with him were going to be involved in some kind of altercation in a place with similar terrain to Ireland. But did any witnesses get close enough to figure out who was actually hitting who when this stuff was being filmed?
We've got mixed reports on that. The recent spoiler from Making Star Wars said that Rey and Kylo engaged in a separate lightsaber battle away from Kylo's posse. And it sounded like Luke was just taking out the Knights of Ren one by one, while Kylo had peeled off Rey from Luke, and they went up a cliffside together. And supposedly during that cliffside lightsaber fight, Rey disappears at some point, and then supposedly Luke approaches Kylo, who then also disappears in some way.
Okay. Now, that doesn't jibe too well with the force back, which a lot of people have thought was predictive of the future.
Right.
But, I beg your pardon?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that there's even a spoiler by, I think there's a witness called, quote-unquote, Night Angel. I mean, I think that's her ID. Mm-hmm. She had claimed to see someone in black. She doesn't know if it was Kylo or not, but that person takes out someone with a bowl-shaped helmet. I mean, it's similar to what we have seen in Rey's force back in Episode VII. So, could Kylo be trying to save her? Or, could someone be could someone else be, saving Rey from an attack? Or someone else be, or is Kylo saving someone else? A lot of possibilities.
There are, let's see if we can try to, reconcile, do a little speculation between those two, because the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I guess the way I would see it when I've read both of these things is I think that the force back probably generally plays out like Rey envisioned it. Kylo does kill the salad bowl helmet guy to save Rey. And this could be a really big deal because he might be killing one of his own guys if that guy is the Knights of Ren. And like in the vision, where he breaks the fourth wall and starts walking toward her with a non-threatening stance. Usually Kylo has that like heavy shoulder, like fist stance. He's not walking towards her like that in the Force back. So Kylo actually moves towards her in the actual scene, but she's still scared of him nonetheless. And then the two of them get into like a Starkiller Base type of fight where he's not trying to kill her, but he is plenty aggravated with her. I kind of call this my enough of this running shit theory, and to kind of explain that, anyone who's seen the awesome movie directed by Brian De Palma, written by David Mamet, The Untouchables from 1987.
Great movie.
Yes, there's this fantastic scene where Sean Connery is chasing a gangster, and he is literally sick of running after him. And then he says, and I'm going to do the accent bad, but I'm going to do it, "Enough of this running shit." And he shoots his gun in the air, and he scares the guy just so he can catch him off guard and so he can apprehend him. So I kind of see Kylo in the same way, you know, except his would be more of like, "Enough of this fighting shit, Rey."
Don't fight, you know you can't.
Yeah, because there was stuff from, like, dolls that, like, "Don't fight it, you know you can't fight it." So who knows? There was crazy lines from a doll. We'll have to find those one day and see if those...
Oh, I own the doll. I can tell you the lines.
What was the line?
There's "Don't fight it, you know you can't." "I am immune to the light. I've been waiting for this day for a long time." And, what's the last one? It's of course, "Don't be afraid, I feel it too."
Okay, I'm gonna go with the "Don't fight it, you know you can't" for my...
Which is the one line that's not from Episode 7, which I think is interesting.
That's gonna support my "enough of this running shit" theory. Because I think he really wants Rey to do something with him or to hear something from him. Now, one option could be that he wants her to join him instead of Luke. You know, he wanted her to be her teacher in The Force Awakens. He has no use for Luke. He probably thinks Luke is totally on the wrong side of things with the Force, and he wants to teach Rey his version of the ways of the Force. This could entail him bringing her back to Snoke or not, because it wasn't completely clear in The Force Awakens if he was going to bring her back to Snoke. He didn't say the dark side like Darksiders usually do. He said ways of the Force. Another option is that he wants her as an ally in whatever mission Vader, the Vader helmet, has sent him on. And I'm of the belief that mission might be at odds with some points with what Snoke wants. Because remember, Hux got into his face and was saying, you know, "Don't let your personal interests get in the way of what Supreme Leader Snoke wants." And I don't know, maybe Snoke doesn't even know what Kylo's mission is. It depends on who's talking to Kylo through the mask. Is it, I don't know, some evil Force spirit? Is it Vader corrupted? Or maybe Snoke himself is the puppeteer. Whatever it is, Kylo thinks that he has to finish whatever it is Vader started, and he might want her to help him. Now, the third option is, and this is the most fun to me, is that he has something life-altering and Earth, or to be totally cheesy, I'm going to say galaxy-shattering to tell her. Regardless, though, you know, whatever like version as it plays out, it does appear that Rey and Kylo end up on some dramatic cliffside. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be very dramatic because Ryan Johnson has put some incredible Instagram shots up of gorgeous, intense cliffsides. And also, according to Jason at MSW, the Kylo-Rey face-off is the focal point of everything. It's not Luke taking out the Knights of Ren. That's just kind of like a show-off thing that shows Luke is badass. But the real story is with Kylo and Rey. And so I think this could very well be an "I am your father" level of exchange of information from Kylo to Rey. You know, kind of in a callback to Empire Strikes Back. Rey is crazy shocked by the news, because I think it's going to be mind-blowing, whatever it is. There's a lot of secrets that they have not told us. And maybe just like Luke, she falls down the cliffside, and then by that point, you know, once she falls, maybe, you know, Luke is, you know, done being Super Luke and has killed all the Knights of Ren. But at that point, maybe Kylo's not really bothered by Luke anymore. And just like Vader, Kylo is now hyper-focused on Rey and just runs from Luke because he's just after Rey. So, what do you think, Reya? What's your version?
Well, actually, I have a theory that includes the Force back, and it includes the "I am your father" moment.
Okay.
Well, see, at the end of The Force Awakens, Kylo is in a very bad place. Okay, he's been shot by his father's best friend. He's been defeated by a girl who has just discovered that she is Force sensitive. He has been tracked and rescued like a lost pet by someone he hates. That's Hux. I'm sure Hux even sneered and mocked him all the way back to wherever Snoke was. Mm-hmm. And after he completes his training, I'm sure Snoke would tell him, like he told him in Episode VII, that he'll be tested again. And in this case, I think the test would be to destroy the one thing that is his weakness at this moment. That is Rey. I think I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to say that Snoke's going to tell him to go and kill Rey. It's going to be him or her. And if he doesn't obey Snoke, he's going to hurt Leia. I think that this hurt Leia threat has been used before, because in the novelization of The Force Awakens, there is Snoke is talking to Kylo at one point and talking about his bond with Vader and Luke Skywalker, and he mentions Leia. And the moment he says Leia, Kylo interrupts him and kind of reassures him. He says with great assurance that there's nothing to be concerned about. He will kill the last Jedi. So I think he's trying to protect Leia in some way. And of course, there are even rumors that Leia is gravely injured in Episode VIII. So I have a feeling if Kylo gets stranded, Snoke is going to, go through with that threat of hurting Leia. And anyway, I think so. Kylo will definitely go obey Snoke, at least in the beginning. He will go to Ahch-To, but Snoke will send a bunch of bounty hunters. Now, I don't think those guys I don't know if they are the Knights of Ren, but I'm pretty sure these gentlemen who accompany him are bounty hunters. At least that's my theory. And Snoke will send them because he wants to make sure that Kylo does the job. I don't think he trusts Kylo. I mean, he's puts a tracker in the guy's belt. So, I mean, and I think he'll also want these guys to get rid of Luke because he fears Luke. We know that. I mean, he's always mentioning how his Luke is alive. Where is Luke? I mean, I think he's kind of wanting him dead.
Yes.
And I also think this is a nod to both to the original trilogy as well as the Clone Wars, because in the original trilogy, Empire Strikes Back, Vader did send a bunch of bounty hunters to track the Millennium Falcon to Bespin because he wanted to trap Luke and Leia, Han, all of them. He wanted to use them to capture Luke. And similarly, during the Clone Wars, Count Dooku had hired a bunch of bounty hunters to capture Palpatine. So I think this is a slight nod to these previous episodes. So, speaking of the Clone Wars, one of the bounty hunters actually had a salad bowl hat.
Really?
Really. This is actually there's an alien species in the Star Wars universe called the Kyuzo. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. The Kyuzo is basically has been named is a tribute to a character in a Kurosawa movie, the famous one, The Seven Samurai. This was a character who was very known for stealth. Now, the Kyuzo, they normally are farmers, but sometimes they take up professions like law enforcement. In fact, The Force Awakens had a deleted scene with a Kyuzo, with Kyuzo, this character called Constable Zuiwo. He was a Kyuzo, and then there was this bounty hunter during the Clone Wars, the one I was talking about. His name was Embo. So I have a feeling Salad Bowl Guy is another Kyuzo who's a bounty hunter, and he would have been sent by Snoke to complete the job. And I think Pablo Hidalgo mentioned that Salad Bowl Guy is a tribe or a clan leader. So I think Salad Bowl Guy is the leader of the bounty hunters. And when they reach Ahch-To, he will try to kill Rey. But Kylo will kill him and say he wants to kill Rey himself. And he will order the remaining bounty hunters to go after Luke, because that's their job. Not his job is to kill Rey, their job is to go after Luke. So we will actually see them split. So you'll have the Kylo and Rey heading for the cliffs. You will have the bounty hunters and Luke fighting it out. And I'm sure it'll be a very dramatic fight. And just like in the Force Awakens, he corner her at the edge of the cliff. And this time he will tell her he has to kill her, because if he doesn't kill her, Snoke will kill Leia, and he will also destroy the Resistance, which means her friends will die. So this time, this will be the shocking moment for Rey. I think she will not, last time she downloaded his fighting style and completely demolished him, but this time she will probably give up, because I think she cares for those people. She will be in shock. I think she'll crumble. And at that moment, Kylo himself, his will to hurt her will crumble, but being at the edge, she will fall off. And I think, forget wanting to kill her, he will want to save her.
Oh my God, that's so angsty. I love it.
We have to remember that she's from Jakku. I don't think there are swimming pools there, or lakes or anything where she can pick up swimming. So I think he'll have to save her. And in the background, we'll have Luke, who would have taken down all those bounty hunters one after the other like a boss. And then he will see Kylo running to save Rey, and but I think the Force will tell him that Kylo means well, so he will back off. That is why he probably doesn't attack Kylo at that. That's what eyewitnesses said, he doesn't attack Kylo. I think this is why he doesn't, because he senses Kylo's good intentions.
Yes, the eyewitness did say that Luke just kind of walks towards him. He's not charging towards him. He's not in a defensive stance.
Yeah, I think, maybe my interpretation's a bit dramatic, but...
But this is Star Wars, Of course it'd be dramatic. So, no, I like that. Because she's not going to want Leia to die or Finn to die or any of these people, you know what I mean? So she's just but she's not going to want to die herself. So she's not going to know, it's just going to be like torture angst moment. Awesome. So, what do you think, Michelle? What's your scenario?
So I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm one of those people who had this headcanon completely built around this moment in the Force back. I was absolutely convinced until this latest spoiler came out that this was going to be the turning point for Kylo Ren. He was going to be faced with this decision where he was going to be there with his Knights of Ren, and it was either going to be let one of his knights kill Rey, or Kylo would have to take him out himself. And in my mind, again, until this latest spoiler came out, I was absolutely convinced that, okay, this is going to be the big pivot for Kylo. He's going to have this choice, and he's going to choose to skewer his knight, and that's where he's going to be going against his own men to do that. And this is going to be the turning point for him, where he's kind of starting to turn his back on the First Order. Now, based on what we've heard from Making Star Wars, that doesn't sound like it's necessarily the case. So as crushed as I was initially, I'm obviously going to be open-minded and willing to look at other options as far as what happens here.
Actually, I don't mean to interrupt, but I looked at that spoiler again, and it never says that Kylo wants to kill Rey. It actually says he just wants revenge. Now, how they know that, I don't know, but revenge does not necessarily mean kill Rey. It could be like, I'm going to show you who's boss, but so your headcanon may not be completely destroyed. That's what I was just trying to say.
But, let's look at some other options, because I don't want to be one of those people who's stuck in my headcanon and still saying that people are related to people when we know they're not.
Exactly.
Not getting onto that tangent. Anyway, so what I want to look at for this, my theory is that if we step back and look objectively at the situation, we know that the Force back in The Force Awakens was actually shot at Pinewood Studios. So I would expect that there are chunks of this sequence that are missing from the leaks you've been hearing. Close-ups, important dialogue. It's probably not going to be actually shot out on that beach in Ireland. They probably have that set recreated at Pinewood Studios, like we know that they did with those huts. We also know that the Force back has been described as highly stylized, and that there were bits in The Force Awakens, such as Kylo being masked in the snow fight, that didn't play out exactly as they were shown to Rey. So if we go with the interpretation that the Force back is stylized, the Force back could simply be showing that Kylo and the Knights of Ren are landing on Ahch-To. The part where he kills Salad Bowl might not even have the rest of the Knights of Ren might not even be around at that point. They might have just been in that shot symbolically. So maybe this salad bowl skewering incident, maybe it happens later in the movie where Rey and Kylo are attacked by some native non-friendly inhabitant or something. The other possibility, and this is, to me this seems like it's a little bit less convoluted, would be that maybe Luke doesn't successfully kill every Knight of Ren, and at some point one of them rises from the dead, like Glenn Close from the bathtub at Fatal Attraction.
Oh, God.
This Knight of Ren is about to take out Rey, and that's when Kylo comes up and stabs him from behind, saving Rey.
Oh, people will be screaming with that, because...
Wow.
Little cliched, but it also seems like it's maybe the easiest trajectory to follow plot-wise.
Yeah, I don't think Star Wars worries about cliched though in a lot of seriously. Because it plays like such big drama that, there's a lot of like, oh my God, actually, I mean, when Han saves Luke and shoots Darth Vader's ship in A New Hope, that's kind of cliched, you know what I mean? But it's that kind of like, oh my God kind of moment. This would be a sort of darker one, but I could see them totally doing that, so...
Something just struck me. This could be the moment like Han's who shot first, Greedo or Han? This one, who stabbed first, Salad Bowl or Kylo? Something like that.
People have t-shirts. Salad Bowl stabbed first. Salad Bowl. Kylo saved. Awesome. All right, so this was super cool, but okay, he's stranded. We got to get back on topic. So if we interpreted, some of this correctly, Kylo has no ship. All his guys are dead. And with the crooked, hanging off a cliff parking job, the Millennium Falcon, he may have tried to escape, but he was stopped. Okay, so it looks like Luke is a boss. He's just like, takes out these bounty hunters, Knights of Ren. He takes these guys out. So I'm thinking, if Luke is such a boss, couldn't he just knock Kylo out with the Force and drag his comatose body back to Leia, in the still functioning Millennium Falcon? Because even if Kylo had a rage attack in the Millennium Falcon when he was being caught and he destroyed every console there, Rey's a mechanical genius. She's going to fix it. So why wouldn't Luke and Rey just take him back to, I don't know, serve trial?
Maybe they're all yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What was that?
So maybe they're all stuck there.
Oh.
Stranded.
Okay, so what could make them all be stuck there?
So we know from some of the spoilers and from the Force back itself that there's a bad rainstorm going on. We know we heard reports of rain machines being brought into Ireland for the outdoor shoot, and we know just from watching the Force back itself that it's just pouring rain. It's just raining buckets during that Force back. So there's the possibility that there's just a really nasty storm going on that could possibly prevent takeoff of the Falcon.
Okay.
This makes sense because we know that, again, I'm going back to Pablo Hidalgo's Twitter messages, but the thing is that he mentioned that the map was not to Luke, but to the first Jedi temple. So now I'm going to go into the extended universe here, but Ahch-To could be inspired by a planet called Tython, and Tython was the home of the first Jedi temple. So in the extended universe, so maybe this is, maybe they're retconning it and they're, Tython is Ahch-To. I'm just assuming this here, and if they're going with that, Tython had really bad weather, very unpredictable weather. They had 4 storms because, and these 4 storms were caused when there was an imbalance in the force, like there was too much of dark or too much of light. It was important for a balance to be maintained. So I kind of, I'm wondering whether all this activity of Luke, Rey, Kylo arriving with a posse, God knows if those people, any of them is force sensitive. The balance of the force must have gone completely off, and maybe there are storms and they can't, nobody can take off, maybe machinery is not working, I don't know, crazy things must be happening.
Yeah, and we're pretty sure that that planet is special because of all of the, just the ancient buildings that would correlate with First Jedi Temple. In the 3rd podcast, those wonderful Liz art portal pictures, how it's like the Garden of Eden. And then there was that incredible picture in the Art of the Force Awakens where Kira, who is the first name for Rey, comes into a dark chamber through a lit doorway that is really similar to the doorway in the Liz art space garden. So that would make sense that is like just chock full of force power. So if you'd get Luke, Rey, Kylo, and I don't know if those Knights of Ren, they probably aren't too force sensitive with the way Luke took them out so easily, or bounty hunters, but you got 3 serious guys, and were there and what happened when Luke, or when Kylo turns up, then, he'll just throw the whole balance off.
Because the thing is that when Kylo arrives, I'm going to draw an analogy to something again in the extended universe, 2 stories. One is, if anyone wants to read these comics, it will really give them an insight into the Star Wars world. One is called the Dawn of the Jedi comic series, where a Dark Force user arrives on the planet Titan, and when he arrives, there are these terrible force storms, and a Jedi Master actually has to take the light side of the Force from himself and from other Jedi Masters. It's called, I think it's called Force Harmony, and he kind of infuses it into the atmosphere so that the Force is balanced once more. And in a similar comic called The Dark Empire, there Luke and Leia do the same thing. But in this case, they not only do they knock out the Force storm, but they also destroy a ship. So going back to Kylo and the ship, this could be how the ship crashes.
Yes, and I wonder if they go that way, if there will be some effort by Luke to try to balance the Force, but I wonder if he can, because he looked a little off. That might be a discussion for another time, but I don't know, he just looked dark to me, but...
Yeah, he did look a little like a crazy hermit. Yes,
and not that cute, like, Obi-Wan way, you know what I mean? So I wonder how because if they are having Force storms, I wonder how that problem is solved, and we don't know that yet, but there is other reason to think that there will be a stranded and struggle to survive type of storyline in Episode 8, and it came right from Rian Johnson himself. He actually told his cast and crew to watch a movie called Letter Never Sent. So what does everybody know about Letter Never Sent?
Well, I know it's a movie that was released. It's a Soviet-era movie directed by Mikhail Kalatozov in 1959, and I think it went for the Cannes Film Festival as well in 1960. It's supposed to be a classic, and it's a depressing story. Maybe one of you would be better at tackling it, because I got very depressed watching it.
Well, I think my impression was because I actually have not seen it, but my impression is that it's a geology team, that it's three men and one woman, and there's a woman and a man who are in a relationship, and the woman's name is Tanya, but there's a third man named Sergei who is in love with Tanya, and he knows he really can't have her, but he's still not ashamed of his love. And I think the letter that was in question was one that he wrote to her expressing his love, and she wasn't supposed to find it, but then she does. But the thing is that this geology team gets caught in a dense forest, and I think it's a forest fire, so they get trapped.
Actually, they have fire. When the moment you think that that's going to be, because see, it's in the Siberian wilderness, so they don't. They're so set on finding diamonds and making their life better. Whatever, they've got a goal. So I guess you could say the goal is their. In the case of Luke, Rey, and Kylo, maybe it's finding an artifact. Well, in this case, it was finding diamonds in the Siberian region. So you have a forest fire, and the moment they think they're about to lose hope, it starts raining, and you think, oh, their trials are over. But no, it's not over, because there's flooding. So they just kind of go from one thing to the next, and after that there's snow. They get snowed in also, and one after the other things don't end very well for them.
Yeah, Soviet filmmakers, they don't play around.
We know we're not going to get quite that bleak of an ending out of Star Wars, at least.
No, I don't think so. But basically,
especially not in the middle of the trilogy.
No, they have to have somebody left, right?
Right.
Yeah. Knock out a few Knights of Ren or Bounty Hunters.
Yes.
Don't knock out our 3 people.
Yes, exactly. But basically, Letter is a story of self-sacrifice and of obvious loss, where doesn't Sergei sacrifice himself for Tanya? Sergei being the unrequited lover, and it has this unresolved love story between Sergei and Tanya, and I guess I think what the story is about is it makes these characters get down to their essential selves, and I think Rian Johnson may have been pointing to it because of the gorgeous cinematography, but also that, if the 3 of them, Kylo, Rey, and Luke, are really suffering, they're gonna have to get down to they have to stop with who's dark and light. They have to get down to what they are essentially about, and do they want to live or die?
Yeah, there's going to be conflict on the inside. Within themselves, conflict on the outside. The elements are in conflict with them. Everything is. They'll have to work together. It's going to be very. I understand why they say it's going to be a very dark movie. You can see that. Even those.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, even those photographs that have been, we've been seeing occasionally, Rian Johnson has been, publishing keeping a few photographs on Instagram. They look dark. At least I felt they look dark.
Yeah, there's one it's like a really stark black and white one of kind of people sitting on an edge of a cliff, and it's there's a few other ones too.
Yeah, there was another black and white one of a partially hidden profile shot of somebody who was sitting on the edge of a cliff, and it looked like they were wearing some kind of a rain-soaked hood or cloak, and I know there was some speculation that maybe that was Adam Driver.
Yeah, it's sort of like in this bleak, I'm getting rained on, edge of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Also, though, there is, there's a sense about Ireland. My ancestry comes from there, and, prior to the New World, those cliffs on that west coast of Ireland were very much in the Western context thought of as the end of the world. And so when you there's something about like the sense of being dangerous and being at the end of the known world and what's beyond there that is sort of evoked from those images. And then also there's been, Rian Johnson has tweeted a rock climbing wall at Pinewood. So I don't know if somebody has to climb a cliff, or there were stunt people who were rock climbing. There was a witness to that, you know.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're going to get some kind of rock climbing scene, although I have no idea what the context would be. Would it be Rey climbing back up after she falls in the ocean? I don't know about that, but for some reason it sounds like somebody's climbing a cliff at some point.
Yeah, and you gotta think it's probably not like, you know, like for personal challenge, like a pleasant kind of activity.
Right.
You know, it's not that like, oh, I've made it. I think it's more of a desperate, I have to climb this cliff type of situation. So that gives a bleak sense as well. But there was another fun picture, wasn't there, on the cliff? It's not all bad on the cliffs.
Right. Yeah. Do we want to talk about beer can chicken now?
Beer can. Yeah, that's a nice name for it.
Well, it kind of looks like it.
It looks like a plucked raw chicken.
I know.
So for those who don't know beer can chicken, just by us laughing about it, there was a photo that was leaked, and this was from a local photographer, and it was of one of those locations in Ireland. I don't recall which one it was off the top of my head, but there were a bunch of people standing around on a cliff, and it was a cliff that wasn't super high off the ocean, but there was this giant flesh-colored thing, and it looked sort of like a giant plucked raw chicken.
Wasn't Adam Driver's stunt double also supposed to be in the picture? I think somewhere. I think somebody spotted him.
Yes, there was somebody who looked like they could have been Adam Driver's stunt double that was also in the shot.
Yeah, there's been speculation that it could be padding in case somebody fell, but I don't know. It just seems to have a lot of like distinct shape for padding. I mean, or it could be cover up for an object, but I don't know. It looks like a creature to me. What do you think, Reya?
I'm kind of getting this Perseus Andromeda kind of vibe of it, and maybe it's a monster. Like, I mean, again, I'm going to go into extended universe here and canon. I don't know. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, we have this creature called the Rancor. So maybe this is a Rancor because it does look a little like that, or it could be a Rancor Dragon because they were pretty common on the planet Titan. So it could be one of those kind of creatures. I mean, could be one of those. I mean, could be Kylo fighting one of those and rescuing Rey, or just generally fighting one of those creatures. I mean, he's anyway bad-tempered and breaks machinery, so why not a monster or two also?
Oh, yeah. He's at it. He's got to let the energy out. And then, hasn't there been rumors, Michelle, about like Luke having a pet?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which rumor this came from, but there was one of the leaks that said that Luke was going to have a pet that was a cross between a dog, a lizard, and an Ewok. So it's possible. It's possible that, you know, there are some interesting animals alive on the island. It's also possible maybe Luke's pet was a baby one of these beer can chicken things that grew up and attacked and got beheaded. So there are a few possibilities.
Oh, it's like the Rancor that got killed, you know, in Return of the Jedi. Now it'll be Luke crying because it's Jabba
Right.
Jr. that gets taken out.
Yeah.
But on Tytha, didn't they have in the extended universe? Didn't they have Rancors as pets?
Yeah, they had actually something called a Rancor Dragon. It was a winged Rancor, and they would tame them and use them as transport. And in fact, one of the protagonists in the Dawn of the Jedi series had a pet Rancor Dragon, and she called her Butch. Funny name for a girl. Nevertheless,
She's a tough girl.
Yeah.
So, but those weren't the only monsters on Tython, were they?
No. They're one of many monsters, but going back to those figures in black running around the smoky area, it could be these could even be the local inhabitants who, if you're going by the extended universe, Tython had some inhabitants who were who were genetically engineered through experiments to become mutants called flesh raiders. These are pretty creepy things who've, they burn large areas of trees, grass, everything. They occupy a place and they eat everything in sight. Anything that is sentient is food. And they are cannibals as well. They're a pretty nasty bunch.
So they'd eat people and they'd eat themselves, basically.
Oh, yeah. Everything is game.
Okay.
And actually, I thought about it because there are some shots of the locations where there's a burnt-looking tree trunk somewhere, which people are speculating about. Rey's Forceback also has a shape that people are speculating is the burnt tree, and we've seen a burnt tree, so maybe this is actually something on Tython. I mean, some area where a tree has, these flesh raiders have been active. And maybe even the smoke that we have seen these flesh raiders would communicate with each other. They kind of moved around in groups. So to communicate with the other group, they would use fire. So this could be, they're coming your way, smoke.
Yeah, actually, and aren't there pictures in the extended universe that actually these guys are not just, they're not like wolves or anything. They are some kind of sentient being. They can wear armor. Now, the pictures have them being pretty monster looking, but, we were talking about who are all those black armored guys around the ship. Could these guys, in some of these pictures, they actually are wearing armor and, carrying lightsabers.
The thing about these creatures is, in the extended universe, they were called Rakatans. I think that's the pronunciation. The funny thing is that Rakata Prime, their planet, has been brought into canon, but we don't know what they look like. So they could change their look and make them look like regular people also. We don't know what they look like in canon, but we know the planet exists. So we could be seeing them.
Ooh, okay. And was it Rakatans on Tython?
Yes, they were mutant Rakatans. There's some experiments were conducted, and they kind of went crazy. They became cannibals, and
okay.
So they became a very dangerous place. In fact, most of the in the extended universe, most of the occupants left the planet, and it was even removed from most navigational charts. That could explain why there was so much. People didn't know where Luke was. He couldn't be located because he wouldn't have been found on his planet wouldn't have been found on a navigational chart if they are following the same story as Tython.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that because I guess they would take it off of charts because it was so dangerous, because if you went there, you'd get eaten. But I guess Luke can go there because he's force sensitive and he's badass, and he'll just push his hand and they'll all fall down. But
yeah, no one's going to mess with it.
but if it gets out of hand, if the three of them are there together, they kind of mess up everybody's force, and there's force storms and craziness going on, then maybe, they're going to do different things with the force this go around. So, I don't know. So maybe their powers get kind of messed up, and so they are more victim to these people, to these flesh raider kind of guys, So basically we're kind of like looking at a situation where, I don't know, there might be multiple monsters. There's the, because in the picture, Beer Can Chicken looks decapitated. And is that a flesh raider? Is that Rancor? Whatever he is. There could be more than one on the planet. And so basically Luke, Rey, and Kylo could be stuck on a hostile planet with horrible weather, with like whacked out, like, force
Monsters.
and vicious monsters. And then they could be on some Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of search for the, for the Jedi relic that's going to balance the Force or give, be the Lost Ark that's going to give somebody power or whatever they're looking for. So, what would that, mean for them to be stuck like that in those kinds of circumstances? I mean, I'm just going to throw out there that Luke is not starting from a good place on that, because he, especially on that second version of the Rey and Luke scene, he looks off. He just looks like he is like been on the bender of his life, and he is just not Luke from, like, I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. That's not the guy.
That is not the Zen Luke that we knew at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Definitely not.
And then isn't Luke given Rey some pretty questionable instructions as well?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think there's some rumor like that about him wanting to. He expects her to kill Kylo. I mean, I find that hard to believe.
What do you think, Michelle?
Well, it was the rumor from making Star Wars that Luke wanted Rey to kill Kylo and that Rey does not want to do it, that Rey, for reasons unknown at this point, has already developed some compassion for Kylo. That's a whole other tangent we could go off on to speculate on that. But that seemed to be something that making Star Wars heard, and they seemed pretty confident about it. So we don't know the context of it. I think that we'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, so that's another wrinkle in the we're stuck together kind of thing where, because also I got to think if Luke wants Kylo dead, he should just do it himself.
Right.
I don't know why he's dumping it on Rey, who, just, found out she was Force sensitive yesterday. So that in and of itself is like fishy on Luke's part, I'm sorry.
Maybe he's pulling off an Obi-Wan. I mean, Obi-Wan told Luke to kill Vader, so maybe he's trying to,
Yeah, but you know what? Obi-Wan had lost his mojo there, though, because he couldn't do it. Whereas if Luke kills all these bounty hunters in one fell swoop, Luke could take out Kylo.
I think the best explanation is possibly that he doesn't want to kill his twin sister's son himself.
Yeah.
Or he's frightened of Leia.
The death sentence, it makes it a whole lot better, but that would be my guess, is that he doesn't think he can kill his sister's son with his own hands.
Yeah, but in the end, it doesn't really make a difference that, if he orders it, you know what I mean? So it's, so basically, Rey might have a problem with Luke, and because he's asking her this, Luke may be having problems, and nobody knows what's up with Kylo, because he's not
full of problems.
Yes, he is not a regular Darksider. They never worried about the stuff they did. He seems real conflicted all the time. So, and then we don't know what, he's been listed from Vader's helmet. So basically we have like this crazy scene with these people. So I guess I'm going to speculate that in this stranded, struggle to survive, letter never said Star Wars version, that the three of them will have no choice but to rely on each other, even though they have all these, intermediate problems, because you can't kill your enemy if you need their help to survive. And most, we might get a chance over time that Luke might soften towards Kylo and vice versa. I think we'll definitely get a better sense of what Kylo is about, because he's not going to be around Snoke, and he, if they're caught in like close quarters or stuck in caves or whatever, there's going to be real emotion that comes out of these desperate situations. Also, on the other hand, though, Luke might not soften towards Kylo at all, because there was a pretty substantial rumor that Rey and Kylo are having a conversation in one of those beehive huts, and Luke does something that causes it to explode while they're in there. So that's not cool, that's Luke having a bad day, and that could actually cause Kylo's not going to be pleased about that, but Kylo already has issues with Luke. But Rey is not going to be pleased with that, and if they already have a rift, that's going to get worse. And as a result, like, Rey and Kylo may actually start the movie as enemies, but they may reach a détente, or maybe even slowly become allies. And sort of returning back to Letter Never Sent, if Kylo is Sergei, and there's reason to believe he is, because he gave a lot of special attention. He treated Rey differently than anybody else in The Force Awakens. And so I would not be surprised if he goes through this experience with her and is in love with her. Whether that's reciprocated or not is another question, but I would not be surprised if he is in love with her by the end of this stranded struggle.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any way that Kylo comes out unchanged from being stranded with Rey and Luke. I agree that at some point the three of them will need to learn to work together during the Ahch-To segment, and I can't see any other outcome from a stranded together in a harsh environment type setup. I'm also expecting that during this time we're going to get some kind of a huge reveal about what actually happened back at Luke's Jedi Temple. I don't have any clever theories myself about what actually happened, but I do get a feeling that we'll find out that whatever Ben Solo did, it wasn't as bad as we were expecting it to be. And I also suspect that we're going to find out that Luke was not completely innocent. I think a lot of people, that there were those references to what happened at Luke's, with Luke's teachings and back in The Force Awakens, but it was never spelled out. And I think a lot of people, especially after seeing the prequel trilogy, are probably, just automatically on instinct going to an Anakin scenario where, they think Ben Solo took out a bunch of younglings. I don't think that's what happened at all. I don't think he was innocent. I think that people died, but it just, the whole setup with Ben and Luke when they were off together, especially from what came out from Bloodline, it all sounds awfully fishy, and I think there's a lot more to that story, and I think it's probably going to be one of the big twists in Episode 8.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That said, I really think that a big part of the Ahch-To segment is going to be about getting the audience onto Kylo's side for when the redemption arc starts. And I absolutely think that they're setting up a redemption arc for the Kylo Ren character.
Yes, and just the only thing I was going to ask is that, add, was that Mark Hamill always wanted Luke to be a little dark. Just like Harrison Ford always wanted Han Solo to die with meaning. Harrison Ford got his wish. Maybe Mark Hamill gets his too. Yep. So.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you on this part, that I think they're going to work as a team, but I kind of feel that the focus is, we're going to see them, the planet is beautiful, the planet is dangerous, they're going to have to face all kinds of terrible weather, monsters, all kinds of things, and they're probably going to be hunting for an artifact. But what I feel is important is that we have seen that, people are assuming that Kylo's on the dark side, Rey's on the light side. I think that when they hang out together, Kylo's going to start becoming very vulnerable, because he's going to start remembering his past. He's going to watch Luke teach Rey, and that was him a few years back. So memories are going to come. He's going to be very disturbed, and I think that Rey and Kylo, as they work together, she is going to move a little more towards darkness. We saw that happening in their last fight on Starkiller Base, and he is going to move towards the light. He's been fighting the light, but I think the struggle is going to reduce. I think he is going to move towards the light. They're going to meet somewhere in the middle. I kind of feel that. And as for Luke's interaction with Kylo, I think it'll be unpleasant, because Luke will seem to be angry with him, but I think his anger could also come from the fact he's a little ashamed. I think that there is something more about Luke, because, like Michelle said, in Bloodline, there's something off. He just disappears. He's roaming around somewhere. He's not in touch with his family. His nephew's not in touch with, his own mother or father. Nothing. And then another interesting thing, that there's a character called Carice Sindian. She uses the term acolyte. The last time we heard the word acolyte was when the Acolytes of the Beyond were mentioned in the Aftermath novel. So I'm beginning to wonder if words are not used frivolously in Star Wars. There must be some significance. I still think something is there, and Luke is ashamed of something. He's blaming himself for something that happened at that burning temple. I won't call it the academy, I'll call it the burning temple, because that's all we know of it right now. And I think what will bring them together is their Rey. I think their concern for Rey may unite them, or they may, or Rey may be the person who, like Luke said, regarding Vader, he, in the original trilogy, that there is still good in him. I felt it. I think that will be Rey. She will be the one who will say those lines and probably make Luke and Kylo reconcile in some way. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to hug and, they're all going to sing Kumbaya. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that at all. It's going to be a slow process, but I think a dialogue will begin between Kylo and Luke, thanks to Rey. And I also feel that Kylo's reasons for looking for Ahch-To are not the same as Snoke. See, Snoke, I think, is after Luke. But I think Kylo has some different agenda, something more going on. And you get the hint of this when Hux tells Kylo that his personal interest should not interfere with that of Snoke in The Force Awakens. He mentions that pretty specifically. So, obviously, Kylo's up to something. And Kylo is this paradox. You see, all the Darksiders, at least what I have read till now, are people who want power. It's all about the Sith Lord has the power, the apprentice craves the power. But Kylo doesn't want anything. I mean, he is, even Anakin said, even when he was Anakin, before he became Vader, he said, I want to be the most powerful. But Kylo, he says, I'm going to quote this from the novel itself. He says he feels he has no need of the usual accoutrements favored by sentient beings, and was content within himself. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like a wannabe Dark Lord. I mean, no way. He's trying to finish something, and I think he's trying to finish something that he thinks Darth Vader had started. And when Rey even called out his, deepest fear, she says, you're afraid you'll never be as strong as Darth Vader. She uses the term strong, not power. So, I mean, he's worried about something that he cannot do. Maybe he's worried that he's not worthy of something. Now, I have a theory regarding this. I won't go into this in full detail because I think this is the subject of a whole podcast. I mean, it's a big topic. But if any of you are Clone Wars fans out there, there's something called the Mortis trilogy. I mean, you would immediately know what I'm hinting at, but for others, it's about Anakin and Obi-Wan and Anakin's Padawan Ahsoka meeting three Celestials in a different dimension. One representing the dark side of the Force, one representing the light side of the Force, and one representing the balance between them. Now, I have a feeling that Kylo's agenda is linked to that in some way, but we'll deal with that in another podcast. What do you say?
Yes, because I think that could be huge, actually. And I totally agree with what you're saying about the strength, because he can't be as strong as Darth Vader. I get the sense that it's not about the power. Strength actually means something like endurance to him, like the ability to take something. That's how I got it. Like, I don't know, to suffer or to have the stomach to do something. And
exactly.
So, oh my goodness. So, any final thoughts, ladies?
I think we've covered an awful lot in this podcast.
Yes.
So, we should leave something for another podcast.
Yes. Yes, we've definitely had a good time, and we've covered a lot of territory, and I think my head is spinning a little bit, so probably the audience is really spinning at this point, but it'll give you a lot to think about and a lot to chew on. So this is it for us today, and we'd like to thank all of our contributors, because there's a lot of people who help us from behind the scenes. And of course, we'd like to thank our viewers. We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts. And you can follow us on Twitter. We'd love to hear your feedback, good and constructive criticism. You can leave a comment for us or ask us questions in the comment section, or you can email us at StarWarsConnection09@gmail.com. So until next time, may the Force be with you.